Welcome to the Deep Dive, brought to you by Native Ear. We take complex English scenarios, the kind that can make you hesitate in a professional environment, and we unpack them piece by piece. We're here to give you knowledge that really sticks. Our goal is to slow the language down, analyze that underlying structure, and just make sure that what you learn here is immediately applicable the moment you log on to your next work call. So are you ready to level up your professional English, but without being overwhelmed by complicated rules? Because mastering business English, it's rarely about memorizing difficult vocabulary. It's almost always about understanding the precise usage of simple, polite phrases and, the confidence to use them consistently. If gaining that mastery sounds like something you need right now, then please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to Native Ear, and share this deep dive with family and friends so they do not miss out on these valuable lessons. We really believe that great results come with little effort, but only when you focus on the right words and the right way to say them. Today, we are deep diving into a scenario that is focused entirely on business communication. Specifically, we're analyzing source material that shows how native speakers navigate, everything. Weekly update meetings, those rapid daily stand-ups, and even quick general work chats. Our mission is to analyze the precise usage of words and sentences from this material. We want to move you from feeling nervous about giving an update to feeling absolutely confident. And I am joined today by our expert instructor. He brings a warm, clear, and just incredibly engaging teaching style that's perfect for navigating the nuances of this deep dive.
Thank you. It's great to be here. What's so fascinating about this source material is that it provides a complete real-life English scenario. It moves seamlessly through different types of meetings.
Right.
And that is ideal because it gives us not only a lot of immediately useful phrases, but I think most importantly, it reveals the professional rhythm, the expected cadence of English communication in a business setting.
That is the perfect way to phrase it, that professional rhythm. So let's get right into analyzing that rhythm. We can start with the structure and the language of a more formal weekly meeting. Okay, so we're beginning with the foundational elements, a typical work meeting. When we analyze the source material, the dialogue established a really clear pattern. First, reviewing project updates, then discussing deadlines, and finally, sharing next steps. This structure is just foundational across so many professional fields. And for the English learner, just recognizing this pattern, that's the first step toward successful participation.
Yes, it really is. When you, the learner, know the standard structure, what happened last week, what's the main goal for this week, any problems, it preemptively removes a huge element of surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And this allows you to relax and focus your mental energy entirely on the language itself, rather than trying to figure out the meeting's objective while it's happening.
So let's analyze the language used right at the start of the meeting. The first line in our source dialogue was, "Good morning, team. Let us begin our weekly update meeting." And then the person leading immediately transitioned by saying, "I will go first, then Name will share his update."
Okay, let's focus on that command. Let us begin. It's simple, it's clear, and it maintains a formal tone that's appropriate for, any work environment. A lot of non-native speakers might be tempted to use start, which is fine, but begin does carry a slightly more elevated professional tone.
A little more formal.
Exactly. It signals a formal process is initiating. It's a fantastic, simple verb for starting any official conversation.
That's true. I often hear people, especially in, say, tech environments, saying things like, "Let's kick this off."
Mm-hmm.
Is begin still truly the better professional choice? Or is that more informal kickoff becoming common enough that we can use it in formal updates now?
That's a brilliant point, and it speaks directly to our professional audience here. Let's kick off is certainly extremely common. You hear it all the time, especially in more agile or engineering-focused firms.
Right.
However, if you are an English learner and your main goal is clarity and immediate acceptance in any corporate environment, then let us begin or let us get started are much safer, universally accepted choices.
Okay, so stick with the safer option.
I would.
Okay.
Kick off is a phrasal verb, and sometimes phrasal verbs can introduce a subtle ambiguity that we want to avoid when clarity is paramount. Stick to begin for guaranteed professionalism.
Excellent advice. Now let's analyze that specific structural phrase. "I will go first, then Name will share his update." What's the significance of share his update?
Well, share his update is a professional and collaborative synonym for tell everyone what he did. The verb share is really important here. It implies collaboration, contribution, transparency to the overall knowledge of the group. We're not giving information, we are sharing knowledge.
I see.
This verb choice, It signals that you understand the expectations of modern business communication, where information flow is collaborative, not hierarchical. So if you're preparing for a meeting, replacing a simple phrase like, "I will tell you about my work," with "I will share my update," just instantly elevates your tone.
So the distinction is critical. Sharing implies contributing to a common pool of knowledge. It feels inclusive, whereas telling can sometimes feel a bit like a directive, right?
Precisely. And this is such a simple shift that offers immediate professional gain.
Okay, now we move to the actual substance of the communication, delivering a clear, short update. The source provides a perfect, concise model sentence, which we really should deconstruct carefully. The model was, "This week, I worked on the new website report. I finished the first draft yesterday. I will send it for review today."
This is a perfect piece of concise reporting. For a stand-up or a weekly meeting, we absolutely must focus on the time frames and the verb tenses here, because this is often where non-native speakers struggle the most.
Okay, let's break down the tense usage. The speaker uses the simple past tense to describe completed actions related to the project. I worked on the new website report, and I finished the first draft yesterday. These verbs clearly define actions that are completed in the past.
That is crucial. The simple past tense confirms that the action or task, or at least a major phase of it, is definitively complete. And notice the specific inclusion of time markers, this week and yesterday. This gives context. Using strong, active verbs like worked on and finished shows productive effort and accountability. It avoids that passive language like the report was being drafted. The listener needs to hear, "I did this."
And then the speaker smoothly transitions to the future. They use the simple future tense, "I will send it for review today." This defines the action that is immediately upcoming.
And this structure is the professional rhythm we mentioned. Past action, past completion, immediate future action. It defines the flow of work perfectly and efficiently. It manages expectations for their colleagues.
Okay.
So when you prepare your update, think of it as a 3-part timeline. It ensures you keep the update short and clear. Your colleagues, they don't need a novel. They need the key facts about your progress and your immediate next step. Learning to structure your update this way is just key to sounding organized and professional.
Okay, so once that core update is delivered, the speaker needs to invite dialogue, welcoming feedback politely. The source gave us a great complete sentence for this, required for this level of politeness. Please let me know if you have any feedback.
This is more than just a suggestion. It's non-negotiable professional etiquette. We should dissect the structure here. First, let's look at the phrase, "let me know."
Let me know is incredibly natural. It's a standard native speaker phrase that simply means tell me, but it's so much softer. It's less demanding than the direct command, tell me your thoughts.
Exactly. And the use of please at the beginning elevates the politeness dramatically. But the secret sauce here is the conditional phrase, "if you have any feedback."
Ah, okay.
The use of the conditional if acknowledges that they might not have feedback, which lowers the pressure on the audience and makes the request less transactional. You're opening the door without forcing anyone through it.
And the second key component there is the concept of feedback.
Feedback, yes. It's the essential professional term for opinion, suggestions, or constructive criticism about your work. It's neutral. And using it shows you're prepared for suggestions. It's much better than asking for criticism, which just sounds negative, or simply thoughts, which is a bit vague. When you combine that polite request with the conditional structure, "please let me know if you have any feedback," you're projecting confidence. You're showing that you value the team's collective input, which is, the definition of a collaborative professional.
So if we look at a less professional alternative, something like, "tell me what you think now," we can really see how the politeness of the source sentence reinforces that necessary workplace etiquette.
Absolutely. "Tell me what you think" is fine for a colleague you know well, but in a formal meeting, it can sound rushed or even demanding. The structure we analyzed uses please, the soft request, "let me know," and the conditional "if you have," making it incredibly diplomatic. This is the sentence to practice until it becomes reflexive. It ensures you end your section on a professional, collaborative note.
That is a very thorough breakdown of the meeting start and the initial update. We're already building a pretty robust framework for professional communication. All right, let's move to the unavoidable reality of professional work. Problems. Things never go perfectly on schedule. So how do we address challenges and seek clarification without sounding, negative or worried or panicky?
This section really touches on the concept of emotional intelligence applied to English language use. The core advice from the source is vital. Be honest about the issue, but remain calm. You must acknowledge the challenge immediately, but then you pivot to demonstrating that you are actively in control of the solution.
Let's examine the exemplary sentence provided for reporting problems positively. I faced a small issue with the data file, but I am working on a fix.
This structure is incredibly powerful for managing stakeholder anxiety. It successfully executes the famous but pivot. You combine stating the problem, I faced a small issue, with immediately demonstrating agency and proactive effort, but I am working on a fix.
Right.
When you use this structure, you are not just presenting a roadblock, you are presenting yourself as the active problem solver. This builds immediate trust and confidence with your managers and peers.
This is an interesting point. I've noticed that many non-native speakers focus too much on apologizing for the problem rather than explaining the solution.
That's a very common cultural mistake, yes. In many non-English speaking cultures, the emphasis is on the apology. In the professional English context, the emphasis is on resolution.
Resolution, okay.
A quick acknowledgement of the issue is enough, followed by the plan for the fix. The source material emphasizes this by contrasting the weak phrase, I cannot do it, with the much stronger, I am working on it.
And that phrase, I am working on it, is a truly critical piece of vocabulary.
Oh, it's a must-have phrase for your professional toolkit. In English business culture, saying I cannot do it without offering an immediate next step can often signal resignation or a lack of effort. Saying I faced a challenge, but I am working on it uses I am working on it as a confident professional substitute for I cannot proceed right now.
It signals that the process is active, which demonstrates teamwork and confidence. It shifts the perception of the problem from an obstacle to just a temporary challenge.
Moving on, the source also highlighted the importance of using specific, precise action verbs for updates. Things like completed, asked, and plan to finish.
These verbs are the anchors of professional updates because they are precise and unambiguous. They communicate exactly what happened or what the commitment is for the future, leaving no room for vague interpretation. They replace general verbs like did or tried.
Can you give a deeper application of how to use these verbs? Let's focus on the difference between general language and professional language using these examples.
Certainly, take completed. Instead of the vague statement, I did the report, which implies only effort, you say, I completed the report. This emphasizes finality and quality.
Then take asked. Instead of saying, the client wants something different, which is a statement of fact, you use the active verb. The client asked for a simpler menu. This is reporting accurately. And finally, plan to finish. Instead of saying, I might finish the review tomorrow, you say, I plan to finish the review tomorrow.
Ah, okay.
Notice that plan to finish implies commitment and a timeline, making it a much more countable phrase than just, I will review it. Using these action verbs just makes your updates sound rigorous and structured.
That elevation in language is so simple, yet so effective. Now, let's address the other side of communication. Asking questions and seeking clarification. This is often the most anxiety-inducing moment for professional English learners.
It does not need to be complicated. You just need to state your intention clearly and politely. The simplest model is, I have a question about the report, or the slightly shorter, can I ask something, please?
And I want to emphasize the importance of adding please one more time because it's so easy to forget under pressure, but it carries such enormous weight in professional settings.
You are absolutely correct. Adding please is a small linguistic investment that yields huge returns. While it's not grammatically essential, it is functionally essential for increased politeness and respect in a professional environment.
Right.
You're about to take up someone else's attention and time, so framing your request with please signals respect for their focus. Can I ask something, please? Is always the correct professional choice.
Now, the true challenge, what happens when the information is complex or the speaker is talking too quickly or maybe the topic is just outside your area of expertise and you do not understand? We need a graceful, professional exit strategy here.
The best approach is to be direct but apologetic, and you need to ensure you take the responsibility for the misunderstanding. We should analyze the usage of, sorry, could you explain that again?
The sorry at the start really softens the interruption, and could you makes it a conditional, polite request. It's much better than the demand, explain that again.
That's the foundation of politeness. And if repeating the same explanation doesn't help, you need to ask for a different format of information. This is where the alternative usage provided in the source really shines. I'm not sure I understand. Could you give an example?
Why is that specific phrasing, I'm not sure I understand, so effective? It seems to be the key to this graceful strategy.
It's brilliant because You are not blaming the previous speaker for being unclear, which can happen if you just ask for a repetition. Instead, you're taking the responsibility for the information gap onto yourself. I am not sure I understand. This removes potential conflict. Then, instead of just asking them to repeat the words, you ask for a different method of clarification. An example. This demonstrates that you are actively trying to process the concept, which is incredibly helpful and highly professional. You're participating in the solution, not just pointing out the problem.
That's a powerful distinction. By asking for an example, you're effectively telling the other speaker, I am committed to understanding this, but I need you to translate the abstract idea into a concrete example. So we've now covered the start of the meeting, confident updates, and diplomatic questioning. We are now moving into the more specialized terminology and the functional phrases that native speakers use to manage the progression and the flow of the meeting itself. These are the organizing terms that really glue the conversation together.
This is the functional language of meetings, the words that keep things organized, on schedule, and moving forward. Often these phrases are used by native speakers almost subconsciously, so mastering them makes you sound like a true insider.
First, a deep dive into the business vocabulary of action items. This is a phrase that just dominates meeting summaries.
An action item is pure business shorthand. It's defined simply as a task, an assignment, or a specific thing that must be done after the meeting, with clear ownership assigned. A discussion point is not an action item. A potential future project is not an action item. Only an immediately defined assignable task is an action item.
So if the team discusses 5 things, but only 3 of those are assigned to a specific person with a specific deadline, then only those 3 are action items.
Exactly. It brings structure to the abstract nature of discussion. And the model sentence usage is crystal clear because it links the 3 essential components. My action item is to update the report by Thursday.
Right.
It links the task, the owner, and the deadline by Thursday. This is the essence of efficient documented communication.
Next up, let's tackle wrapping up.
Wrap up is a beautiful, simple, and natural phrasal verb that just means finish or conclude. It's less formal than conclude or adjourn, but it's perfectly professional for internal meetings. It is concise and instantly understood.
So the usage example, let us wrap up the meeting, is just a clear, simple signal that the discussion is coming to a definite, friendly end. It's a good phrase to master for signaling transition or closure.
It's an excellent managerial tool. If you're leading a meeting that's running long, saying, we only have 5 minutes left, let's wrap up the last 2 points quickly, is a polite and effective way to manage time and keep the meeting focused on closure.
Now let's dive into the highly common phrases we hear every day that help meetings flow smoothly. These are crucial because they fill conversational space and show active participation.
These are essential conversational fillers that manage the pace. The source lists several. Let us get started, which we already covered. Let us move on, which manages topic transition. And then that is a good point. I agree, and I see your point.
Let us move on is simply the professional directive to transition to the next agenda item. It's a time management tool.
And the others, that is a good point. I agree, and I see your point. They're the social lubrication of the meeting. They are phrases of active listening. Even if you ultimately disagree with the speaker, acknowledging their contribution with, that is a good point, validates their effort and maintains team respect.
I want to focus particularly on, I see your point. I have noticed that this phrase is often misinterpreted by learners as meaning full agreement.
That is a critical nuance.
Yeah.
I see your point means I understand your perspective or your argument. Crucially, does not necessarily mean I agree.
Ah, okay. That's key.
This makes it an invaluable phrase. You are acknowledging comprehension. You can follow it immediately with however or but my concern is. It is the professional, respectful way to introduce a counterpoint or a concern without dismissing the speaker entirely. It shows you process their information.
Speaking of concerns, what if you need more time to process a complex question or to formulate a nuanced thought? Rushing an answer is a very common mistake.
This is perhaps the most important confidence builder for the English learner. Do not feel pressure to respond immediately. Native speakers frequently buy time, and the source provides 2 excellent, distinct phrases for this purpose. Let's analyze the usage of. Let me think for a moment.
That's short, polite, and it buys you literal, valuable seconds to gather your thoughts, translate internally, and formulate a clear answer.
Exactly. It shows confidence, not confusion. It signals to your team, I heard you, And your question is important enough that I am giving it serious consideration.
Hmm.
Now, contrast that with the alternative usage. That is a good question. Let me check.
What does that second phrase imply about the nature of the delay that the first one doesn't?
Let me check. Implies that the answer is not subjective, but requires data retrieval. The information exists, but it's in a document, a spreadsheet, a calendar, or an email chain.
So you're looking something up.
Exactly. It is a commitment to look up data. This manages expectations by telling the person you are looking externally for the answer, rather than just processing your internal thoughts. Both phrases buy time, but they communicate different reasons for the pause.
Next, let's discuss how to suggest ideas gently. Sometimes, we have a novel or slightly risky idea, and we're afraid it might sound silly, or perhaps it challenges the current group consensus. How do we introduce that idea without sounding overly assertive?
You absolutely must start gently. This is a linguistic softening technique. The source gives us two perfect openers. First, I have a small idea.
The word small immediately creates a softening effect. It lowers the conceptual pressure. It suggests that the idea is low risk and easy for the team to process, inviting curiosity rather than immediate judgment.
It is brilliant psychological framing. And the second model provided is structurally fascinating. Maybe we could try a new layout. Here we need to focus on the structure. Maybe we could try.
This structure uses two major linguistic softeners simultaneously. We have the conditional adverb maybe and the modal auxiliary verb could.
Yes, the combination of maybe and could creates a strong softening shield. Maybe indicates possibility rather than certainty, and could frames the suggestion as one possible option among many, not a definitive path. If you compare it to the assertive, we must change the layout. You can immediately hear the collaborative open tone of, maybe we could try. This structure is essential for contributing to brainstorming sessions, especially if you are hesitant about your fluency or the risk level of the idea.
It removes the stress of being definitively right or wrong. It turns the idea into a collaborative suggestion.
Precisely. It's about shared ownership of the suggestion.
And finally, in this section, let's analyze giving opinions and partial agreement. What are the polite and professional ways to introduce your subjective opinion in a meeting?
You need a clear opening signal to frame the subjective nature of your comment. The standard, polished phrases are, I think, in my opinion, or the slightly more formal, from my point of view. These phrases establish that what follows is your subjective thought, ensuring others know you're not stating a universal fact.
And the model sentence provided, in my opinion, we need more time for testing.
This achieves perfect professional balance. It's assertive about the need, but it respects the meeting structure because of the opening signal. In professional contexts, it's important to understand that sometimes simply stating, we need more time, can sound overly demanding. However, in my opinion, we need more time invites others to offer their differing opinions in return, maintaining a healthy, balanced discussion.
But what if you agree with part of what was said, but you disagree with the conclusion? How do we agree only a little, that concept of professional balance?
This is advanced professional finesse. You must avoid the direct statement, I disagree. That could just halt conversation. Instead, you use partial agreement phrases. I partly agree is fantastic because it signals that you have listened and found merit in the idea, but you're not fully aligned.
Or we can use the two-part structure provided in the source. That is true, but we also need to consider.
This two-part structure is the gold standard of diplomatic disagreement. First, you validate the previous speaker. That is true, using that validating conjunction. Then you smoothly pivot to your concern using the contrasting conjunction, but.
Right.
By introducing what we also need to consider, you are acknowledging their reality while simultaneously introducing a new dimension to the problem. This shows professional maturity, collaboration, and diplomatic skill.
That is an exhaustive look at the language of the formal, structured meeting. Now, let us shift gears completely. We are moving from the formal, scheduled weekly update to the fast-paced, highly structured daily stand-up meeting, often associated with agile methodologies. This environment demands maximum efficiency.
The daily stand-up is defined entirely by brevity and efficiency. It's often meant to be conducted while standing, symbolizing that it should be short, ideally no more than 1 or 2 minutes per person. The goal is coordination and rapid identification of bottlenecks, not deep discussion.
And the source material highlights that the entire structure of the stand-up centers on answering 3 specific, very short questions. These are almost universal in modern business environments, especially in tech.
Precisely. If you are an English learner preparing for a stand-up, you need to prepare the answer to these 3 questions, and ideally, only these 3. Question 1. What did you do yesterday? This focuses solely on past action and clear completion. Question 2. What will you do today? This focuses on the immediate actionable future. And question 3. Any blockers or problems? This is a direct check for obstacles or the need for help.
This clear structure simplifies everything for the English learner. Knowing these 3 questions means you simply need to fill in the blanks with those specific action verbs we discussed earlier.
Let's analyze the perfect stand-up example provided in the source material. The model was, yesterday I finished checking the sales report. Today I will start writing the summary. I have no blockers.
That is extremely condensed and so easy to follow. The past action is definitively done, the future action is defined, and the status of help needed is clear.
And notice the concrete language. Finish for yesterday and will start for today. It is concrete and focused. The closing statement, I have no blockers, is the ideal response to the third question. It indicates that you are fully operational and do not require immediate assistance from the team.
The source also highlighted the usage of I am working on as a natural alternative for today's updates, especially if the task is large. For example, I am working on the new presentation today.
I'm working on uses the present continuous tense, which is highly natural because it refers to an ongoing activity that spans the whole workday.
Okay.
It implies commitment throughout the hours ahead and confirms that the task is active and in progress. If your task for the day is fast, saying, I am working on the project proposal, is clearer than specifying a single small action within that proposal.
Now, let's address that third question, blockers and problems. This is where we talk about asking for help and reporting dependencies. If you need help, the language must be direct, but still polite.
The usage of I need help with a report format is the clearest, most specific way to ask. It's crucial for the learner to understand. Do not be vague. Vague requests waste time in a stand-up. Name the specific thing you need help with, like the database query or the client contact list.
And what about when your task is stalled because you're dependent on someone else's output? This is where we see the usage of I am waiting for something.
That phrase, I am waiting for, is crucial professional language. It implies a dependency or a roadblock that is outside your immediate control, but which you are actively tracking. For example, I am waiting for the client feedback before I can finalize the design. It clearly communicates that you are blocked, but that you are being professional and accountable by explaining that the process cannot proceed until an external factor is resolved. This shifts the focus from, I have a problem, to, I have a defined dependency.
Because the stand-up environment is so fast, it brings its own unique challenge, dealing with fast speech and, increasingly, audio issues. How should English learners deal with fast speech gracefully?
It is entirely normal to miss words when colleagues speak quickly or use colloquialisms, even for native speakers. You need a polite, standard way to ask for repetition that does not sound disruptive. Use, or the more specific, could you repeat the last part?
That phrase, could you repeat the last part, is very valuable. It's precise. It confirms that you were listening, but just missed the concluding segment of the thought.
It is precise and respectful of time. And remember the underlying principle here. Communication is far more important than achieving linguistic perfection. No one in a professional setting will mind a polite request for clarification. In fact, it shows diligence and a commitment to accuracy.
And finally, let's tackle technical issues, the ubiquitous interruptions of the virtual meeting world. We need professional, direct ways to address these problems on Zoom or other online calls.
These phrases are the new lingua franca of virtual work. They are heard in meetings globally every single day. First, the most common issue. A clear, polite statement. You can say, sorry, I think you are on mute.
Simple, direct, and immediately helpful. Next, if their audio cuts out completely, I think we lost your audio.
This signals a complete disconnection and the need for the speaker to potentially reconnect. But the final one requires a specific cultural and technical definition. You are breaking up.
What does it mean exactly when a native speaker says, you are breaking up?
It's a metaphor that means your voice or video feed is cutting in and out. It's fragmented and unintelligible. It often sounds distorted, sometimes like a robot.
Right.
Saying you are breaking up is the simplest and clearest way to report this specific symptom of a bad internet connection. It immediately tells the speaker that they need to stop talking and maybe try turning off their camera or moving closer to their router to save bandwidth. This is a crucial, functional phrase to master.
These clear, short phrases for technical problems are just as important as the professional updates themselves, as they enable the communication to continue. We transition now to quick written communication, which through chat tools like Slack or Teams dominates a huge portion of modern work, along with, general professional interaction outside of the structured meeting time.
This is a tricky area for English learners because it's often where people make the mistake of being either too informal, using excessive slang, or conversely, being too wordy and formal. The key goal for quick communication in chat or notes is radical efficiency. Save time by being short and clear.
Let's analyze the examples provided for chat tool status updates. They're almost like professional code, omitting many standard grammatical elements, completed draft report, in progress data review, next finalized slides.
These are examples of a telegraphic style. They are sentence fragments, but they are incredibly useful. They prioritize key nouns and status indicators over full grammatical structure. Completed tells the state, and draft report tells the item. This brevity is highly valued at work because everyone can quickly scan a chat log and know the status of all active projects without reading a full sentence. It's a form of highly efficient written communication.
Now, how about asking a coworker for help in chat? We need to understand the spectrum of formality here, comparing the casual usage with the professional, polite usage.
The very casual "you free" or "got a minute" is perfectly acceptable, but only with close colleagues and only if the company culture is very relaxed. If you want to maintain a guaranteed professional and respectful tone, or if you're messaging a manager or someone you don't know well, you must use the model sentences. "Hi, name, do you have a minute?" Or "Can you please help me with this file?"
And we have to emphasize the importance of please, again, even in a quick written chat.
Absolutely. Even in a 2-line chat message, "please" is the essential professional softener. "Can you please help me with this file?" is direct, but the "please" shows respect for their time and effort. It's a tiny input with a significant professional return, ensuring you maintain a respectful relationship.
And when someone does help you, how do you say thank you nicely to show true professional gratitude beyond a simple thanks?
We aim for true appreciation, which is slightly deeper than simple thankfulness. The modest sentences are excellent. "Thanks so much for your help," or the highly professional, "I really appreciate it."
So let's define the use of appreciate in this professional context.
The verb appreciate means "I value this." When you say "I really appreciate your help," you are communicating gratitude at a deeper, more formal level.
Yeah.
You are not just thankful for the end result. You are valuing the person's effort, their time, and their expertise. This is much more sophisticated than just "thanks" and is universally accepted in any work setting.
Next, we have two great pieces of business jargon or specialized vocabulary that are used frequently and can trip up learners: QuickSync and On the Same Page. Let's analyze QuickSync.
QuickSync is a business abbreviation of synchronization. It refers to a short, informal meeting, specifically designed to catch up or to align knowledge. The concept of synchronize just means to ensure everyone's information is aligned.
So if the boss messages, "Let's have a quick sync at 3 about the budget," they mean, "Let's have a brief meeting to ensure we're up to date and have aligned our numbers."
Exactly. It implies speed and coordination. It's used when the meeting topic is narrow and time-sensitive, and that idea of coordination leads directly to the metaphor "on the same page."
Analyze that metaphor for us because it is so common.
The metaphor is powerful. When a team or two people are on the same page, it means everyone understands the same information, shares the same goals, and holds the same fundamental assumptions. Imagine everyone physically reading the same document and looking at the same page number. They are aligned. It's an extremely common, natural phrase to confirm alignment. You might ask, are we all on the same page about the deadline and the scope?
We also need to analyze the language used to start and conclude a summary, often used at the end of a long email or a review meeting.
The transition phrases are simple and effective, and they signal your intention. You start a short summary with "to summarize" or "here is a quick summary." These signal to the listener or reader that you are about to condense the information down to the essentials.
And the structure of the summary list itself. The source used a simple, clear numerical structure. First, we finish the draft. Second, we need feedback. Finally, we will send it by Friday.
Using sequential markers, first, second, finally, or bullet points, is the essence of clarity in communication. It ensures the information is digested sequentially and logically. This shows you've processed the discussion and extracted the 3 most critical actionable steps. It's a sign of organized thinking.
We also have those interesting business-style phrases that signal completeness or ownership, "from my side" or "on my end."
Both mean precisely the same thing, "for me" or "for my part." They are used to signal the completion of your specific update or contribution. For example, after giving your update, you would say, "That is all from my side," or "That concludes the update on my end."
Why do native speakers use "from my side" instead of just saying, "that is all I have"? Is it just business jargon?
It's more than jargon. It's about establishing professional boundaries. It signals that you are done with your specific portion of the group discussion, which makes the transfer of focus easier for the manager or the next speaker. It is a stylistic choice that emphasizes personal accountability for a section of the project.
Which naturally leads us to the language for handing the floor to the next speaker. We need a smooth, professional transition here.
The model sentence is polished and professional. Now, I will hand it over to Name.
It's a literal metaphor. You're giving them the authority and the time slot to speak.
Exactly. The alternative is slightly more conversational, but equally polite. Name, would you like to share your update? Both signal clearly that the conversational focus is shifting away from you and onto the next person, which is essential for maintaining smooth meeting flow.
And finally, two necessary pieces of common etiquette. Polite arrival and departure. What's the standard language if you join a call late?
You must acknowledge your late arrival briefly. Never just arrive silently. You should use the standard apology and reason. "Sorry, I am late. I had another meeting." You state the apology and the reason quickly, and then you immediately transition to joining the topic. And crucially, do not elaborate or apologize excessively. Just get straight to work. Brevity in apology is often more professional.
And when you leave, especially if the meeting is winding down or if you have to leave before the very end.
Keep it friendly and positive. "Thanks, everyone. Bye." Or "Have a great day." Simple, quick, and positive. If you leave early, a quick note in the chat like "Apologies, must jump off now, thanks," is usually sufficient.
Let's finish with one bonus practice phrase that bridges the gap between work and social life. The casual lunch invitation. How do native speakers invite someone to lunch informally?
The perfect, most common phrase is, "Do you want to grab lunch together?" We should focus on that phrasal verb, grab lunch.
Grab lunch is the standard casual native speaker expression. It implies a quick, spontaneous, and informal meal. It suggests speed and efficiency, which is often necessary during a busy workday. It's far more natural than saying, "Do you want to eat lunch?"
It is quick and accessible, and if you are busy, the polite refusal is just as important as the invitation. You should use the structure. "Thanks, but I have work to finish. Maybe tomorrow."
That structure, thanks, reason, alternative, is the key to a polite and professional refusal. You show gratitude, you state the reason for the barrier, and you immediately offer a future opportunity. It maintains the relationship.
This brings us back to the core concept we saw repeated throughout the source material, regardless of the scenario, whether it's chat, stand-up, or formal meeting. The professional language goal is being clear about your intentions, being positive about your challenges, and being unfailingly polite in every single interaction. We covered an enormous amount of ground today. We analyzed the language from 5 distinct professional settings. We dissected the essential English for starting meetings, moved through giving confident updates using precise tenses. We practiced asking for help diplomatically, handled technical issues like being on mute or breaking up, and finally, we mastered the art of concise communication in chat and formal summary.
And what we saw is that while the scenarios changed drastically from a formal weekly update meeting to a rapid technical stand-up, the foundation of truly effective professional communication remains consistent across all of them.
If we connect this to the biggest picture, the entire overarching goal of professional English, as highlighted repeatedly and structurally proven in the source material we analyzed, is to be simple, clear, and polite. This foundation, simplicity, clarity, politeness, is infinitely more important than using obscure jargon or overly complicated words. Master the simple, powerful words, and you master professional communication.
That is the ultimate takeaway. Use the right words in the right structure with the right tone.
This deep dive has shown you the exact language and rhythm of professional communication. So, now consider this for your own personal development and practice. We learned that the standard professional rhythm is built on politeness and conditional language like "maybe we could." But consider this challenge. When do you think highly fluent, assertive professional English requires you to strategically abandon that extreme politeness to achieve maximum clarity and decisive impact? Think about that single scenario in your own job. Thank you for joining this deep dive. Remember to practice listening to yourself, perhaps by recording your updates on your phone. This helps you improve pronunciation and catch those small mistakes, like vowel sounds or misplaced stress. Join us again soon for another Native Ear Deep Dive.
Thank you for diving deep with us today. We hope this slow, clear, and consistent analysis gives you the structured confidence you need to speak clearly and professionally in your next business meeting. Have a good evening.